Hello Army! Welcome back to Zona Taekook channel. 2026 has only just begun, but South Korea's entertainment world already feels like it has entered a completely different chapter. If the Hallyu wave used to be defined by many legendary names carrying Korean culture to the world, now Korean netizens, especially K-nets, have started using a term that sounds bold, massive, and almost unreal: the four heavenly kings of South Korea. And what shocked fans the most, what made social media explode, what made ARMY scream, cry, and lose their minds, is the fact that two names are being mentioned over and over again in those discussions: Taehyung and Jeon Jungkook. Yes, you heard that right. In the middle of an industry overflowing with new stars, endless competition, and constantly changing trends, Taehyung and Jungkook somehow look more untouchable than ever. They are not just surviving, they are not just staying relevant, they are not simply popular idols. According to many netizens, in 2026 they have become something much bigger, the center of gravity of modern Hallyu. And that is exactly why this conversation has become so intense, because this is no longer about who has the best visuals. This is no longer about who trends the most. This is no longer just about music, dance, or stage presence. This is about legacy. This is about power. This is about whether Taehyung and Jungkook have now reached a level where they are no longer just stars inside the Korean entertainment industry, but living symbols of South Korea's global cultural dominance. And if that is true, then 2026 may not simply be another successful year for them. 2026 may be the year they officially stop following K-pop history and start writing it themselves. Chapter 1. Why the term the Four Heavenly Kings has shaken Korea. To understand why this news is so explosive, we need to understand how heavy and prestigious this title actually is. The phrase, the Four Heavenly Kings, is not something people throw around casually. In Asian pop culture, this phrase carries very serious weight. It is usually reserved for figures who are seen as being at the absolute top of their era, people whose influence goes far beyond ordinary fame. When someone is called one of the Four Heavenly Kings, it suggests they possess an almost impossible combination of massive popularity, undeniable charisma, public recognition across generations, powerful influence in media and culture, commercial value, star aura, and the rare ability to define an era. And now in 2026, many Korean netizens are beginning to feel that Taehyung and Jungkook fit that description far too well to ignore. That is why this discussion is no longer just fan hype. This is becoming a public cultural conversation, because what netizens are seeing in Taehyung and Jungkook right now is not just success, they are seeing cultural authority. And in South Korea's extremely fast-moving entertainment industry, that is one of the hardest things to achieve. Chapter 2. Taehyung. Not just an idol but a global aesthetic icon. If there is one name Korean netizens keep describing with almost poetic language in 2026, it is Kim Taehyung. Taehyung is not simply handsome. He is not simply talented. He is not simply famous. To many netizens, Taehyung feels like an atmosphere, a presence, a mood, a visual language all by himself. Every time he appears, whether it is through a public event, a photo shoot, a short clip, a fashion moment, a casual glance, or even a quiet smile, the internet reacts in almost the same way. How can one person look like that? But what makes Taehyung's dominance in 2026 so interesting is that it goes far beyond his face. By now, Taehyung is no longer being treated as just another idol with great visuals. He has become something much rarer, a full artistic identity. Netizens often say that Taehyung has the power to make anything feel more expensive, more cinematic, more emotional, and more memorable just by being there. A simple coat becomes a fashion headline. A random airport look becomes a visual trend. A quiet expression becomes a viral edit template. A tiny gesture becomes a week-long obsession. And in the brutal speed of social media, where attention disappears in seconds, that kind of impact is almost impossible to fake. Taehyung has it naturally. That is why so many people in Korea are no longer discussing him merely as a popular celebrity. Instead, they are beginning to describe him as the face of luxury Hallyu, the human embodiment of Korean soft power, a once-in-a-generation visual icon. And once the public begins talking about you like that, you are no longer just in the game, you become one of the people defining the game itself. Chapter 3. Jungkook. The unstoppable force of modern K-pop. If Taehyung represents aura and visual artistry, then Jungkook represents pure power. To netizens in 2026, Jungkook is no longer just a star. He is becoming a symbol of what happens when raw talent, discipline, charisma, youth, experience, and global impact all merge into one person. And that is terrifyingly powerful. Because what shocks people most about Jungkook is not the fact that he is successful. Everyone already knows he is successful. What shocks them is something much bigger. He keeps getting better even after people thought he had already peaked. That is what makes Jungkook feel almost dangerous in the eyes of the public. Every time people say, "This must be his final form," a few months later he appears again, stronger, sharper, calmer, more dominant, and even more magnetic. And in 2026, Korean netizens seem to agree on one thing. Jungkook has entered his untouchable era. He is no longer simply seen as the golden magne. Now he is increasingly viewed as one of the central pillars of South Korea's modern pop identity. Because Jungkook has a kind of star power that is difficult to explain but very easy to feel. When he sings, people stop and listen. When he dances, people cannot look away. When he performs, the stage starts to feel too small for him. And even when he is silent, people still wait for him. That is not ordinary fame. That is command. And command like that cannot be manufactured. Chapter 4. Netizens are starting to say something huge. They aren't just big, they are the standard. This is where the conversation becomes truly serious. Because the way Korean netizens talk about Taehyung and Jungkook has changed. In the past, people mostly focused on visuals, vocals, dance, chemistry, viral moments, stage outfits, and fan reactions. But now the tone has shifted. Now the comments are becoming much more powerful. They are not just famous, they have become the standard. Every new idol gets compared to Taehyung's aura or Jungkook's level. It's hard to explain, but they feel like they belong to a different class. Even when they do less, they still dominate more. They don't chase trends anymore. Trends orbit around them. That is a very different kind of public conversation. Because once the public starts using your name as a measurement tool for excellence, that means you are no longer just succeeding, you are now functioning as a benchmark. And that is exactly why the phrase, "for heavenly kings," no longer sounds ridiculous to so many people. It starts sounding strangely accurate. Chapter 5. The invisible connection that makes everything even bigger. But what makes this entire discussion even more intense, even more emotional, and even more impossible to ignore, is the fact that Taehyung and Jungkook are not just two separate forces rising at the same time. They are connected. And whether people call it friendship, chemistry, history, or something deeper, there is no denying that when these two names appear in the same conversation, the impact multiplies instantly. Because fans and netizens are not only watching their individual growth, they are watching a shared journey that has lasted for years. A journey filled with moments that were loud, and moments that were almost invisible. Glances that lasted 1 second but stayed in people's minds for months. Small interactions that didn't look important at first, but later felt meaningful. Stages where they stood side by side, yet somehow told completely different stories at the same time. And in 2026, something about that connection feels heavier, more mature, more controlled, more subtle. It's no longer about obvious fan service or playful interactions. Instead, it feels like two people who fully understand their positions, their power, and the eyes watching them from every corner of the world. And because of that, even the smallest moment between them can trigger massive reactions. A simple look, a slight smile, a quiet distance, or even the absence of interaction. Everything becomes a topic. Everything becomes a theory. Everything becomes a story. And that is something very few duos in the entertainment industry have ever achieved. Because when two individuals are already this powerful on their own, and their connection still manages to create another layer of impact, that is when things move beyond normal celebrity dynamics. That is when they become a phenomenon. Chapter 6. If this continues, what happens next? This is the question that is now quietly spreading across Korean forums, international fan communities, and social media platforms. If Taehyung and Jungkook are already being discussed at this level in early 2026, what happens by the end of the year? Because the scary part is this: there is no clear sign that they are slowing down. If anything, they seem more selective, more refined, and more intentional with everything they do. And in today's world, where oversaturation often weakens impact, that kind of control only makes them stronger. So people are starting to imagine possibilities that once felt unrealistic. What if they both reach an even higher global peak? What if their individual brands become even more dominant across music, fashion, and media? What if their influence continues to shape how the next generation of idols is trained, presented, and perceived? And the biggest question of all, what if the idea of the four heavenly kings stops being a discussion and becomes an accepted reality? Because if that happens, then Taehyung and Jungkook won't just be part of the conversation. They will be at the center of it. And history has shown that when the public collectively agrees on something like that, it rarely goes away. Chapter 7. This is no longer just fandom, this is cultural impact. At this point, it's important to understand something clearly. What we are seeing right now is no longer just driven by fans. Yes, ARMY plays a massive role. Yes, their support, streaming power, and global presence amplify everything. But this conversation has gone beyond fandom spaces. It has entered public discourse. Casual listeners are noticing. Industry insiders are observing. Brands are reacting. Media outlets are paying closer attention. And most importantly, Korean netizens themselves, the ones known for being highly critical and extremely fast to move on, are choosing to stay focused on these two names. That alone says a lot. Because in South Korea's entertainment ecosystem, attention is one of the most difficult things to maintain. Trends change overnight. New faces appear constantly. Public opinion can shift in seconds. But despite all of that, Taehyung and Jungkook are not just maintaining attention. They are holding it, shaping it, controlling it. And that is what transforms popularity into influence, and influence into legacy. Final chapter. The moment before history is written. So here we are, at the beginning of 2026, at a moment that feels like a turning point. Not loud, not officially announced, not confirmed by any company or award, but felt. Felt in the way people talk, felt in the way people react, felt in the way two names, Kim Taehyung and Jeon Jungkook, keep rising to the surface of every major conversation about power, influence, and legacy in Korean entertainment. Maybe it's too early to say for sure. Maybe the title of the Four Heavenly Kings is still evolving. Maybe there are still names to be added, debates to be had, and moments yet to happen. But one thing is becoming harder and harder to deny. We might not be watching their peak. We might be watching the moment right before they define an entire era. And if that's true, then everything happening right now is not just another chapter in K-pop history. It is the beginning of a new one.